This segment of the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast is supported in part by Douglas Outdoors, serious rods for serious anglers. Go to douglasoutdoors.com and check out their new lineup of Era rods that retail under $100. Norsk Lithium, the lithium battery that you need is just a click away. Go to norsklithium.com and check out some of the lightest lithium batteries in the market with the best warranty in the business. Mariner Sales. Located in the heart of the DFW Metroplex, Mariner Sales has the largest inventory of kayak and kayak accessories in North Texas. You can also shop online at marinersales.com.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome once again to the Real Life on the Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. Glad to have you on and join us. We're going to have a great episode for you today. I have, hold up, whoops, let me mute my phone here. My bad. We're going to have, first of all, Shane LemMon, host of the Bass Thumbs Fishing Podcast from California. He's a California angler, well known in the area, accomplished some great results in past tournaments, and I'm excited to have him on the podcast. He's going to be giving us our perspective of what it means for the Bassmaster Kayak Series to once again give it another go in California. I know that's something that in the past, Hobie BOS and the Bassmaster Kayak Series didn't get the results as far as entries in the previous tournaments that have done there nationally. They gave it a go against this year, and the numbers have been pretty well, considering, you know, what's going on, especially in Southern California. So Shane's going to give us our perspective about that and what it means for the kayak fishing community in California. And of course, Steve Owens, tournament director. If you don't know who Steve Owens is, you've been living on the rock. Obviously, he's the tournament director for the Bassmaster Kayak Series on the national level. He's done an amazing job since he took over. And we're going to be talking about some of the decisions that went into the schedule. I'm very interested to hear his thoughts on why they decided to go back to California when in the past, you know, it hadn't produced against the numbers that they would have liked, and kind of talk a little bit about behind the scenes on what he has to go through in order to establish a venue for each season. A lot of times you'll see Steve Owens every season kind of post our opinions on where they should hold the tournament, on what lake, what state, and sometimes we're disappointed when we don't get the lakes that we want. That we, how do I say this? That we're, moving our chips to try to influence national trails to put a tournament on that specific lake or city or county. But there's a lot of decisions that go through that. So, and Steve Owens is going to give us a little bit of a backstory on what it takes, kind of peek behind the scenes, what it takes to build a trail every year. Other than that, we are going to have a giveaway. You can put hashtag giveaway on the comment section. If you can't stick around to the end of the show, we'll announce the winners at the end of the show. You can come back, listen to the podcast, either on Facebook, YouTube, or on any podcast streaming platform. Find out if you won. It's going to be a small giveaway. It's going to be a couple of hats, baseball hats from Mariner Sales. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they're going to hold a huge sale at their facilities up in the heart of the DFW Metroplex. If you live around the DFW Metroplex, it's never been a better time to buy a kayak. They're going to have kayaks. I think they're 2022 models, or some of the 2022 models are going to be as cheap as 50% off. So if you're looking to buy a good kayak and a budget has been an issue, this could be a great time to get a great quality fishing kayak for a very, very affordable price. Again, it's going to be some of the models from 2022 are going to be in about 50% off. 2023 models and 2024 models also going to have a either 30 or 20% off. So come join us, Mariner Sales. You can just, if you on Google, you can just hit Mariner Sales and give you the address. Anyways, let's get in our guest for today. Mr. Shane LemMon and Steve Owens. How are you gentlemen doing today?
We're good, man. We're coming at you from the Havasu Hyundai Studios right now. we're in Mark Cisneros, our camera guy's rental car, and because we're out here at Locos Bar and Spanish for kitchen. So we're at Locos out here in Havasu, and we just started the meet and greet here about an hour ago, and they got karaoke going in. So we're out here crammed in Mark's car to try to where you guys can hear us. So we appreciate being here tonight.
Well, my apologies to everybody that's in the meet and greet who I've stole the chance for them to listen to your rendition of your favorite song in karaoke. So
I told them to keep drinking because the drunker they get, the better I sound. So yeah, we got a plan everywhere we go. So we're good. Yeah.
Dane, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And man, I'm super excited about this event. Me and Steve have been talking about bringing something out here for a
couple years,
a while now, and
yeah,
it's all finally came to fruition, and I think we're gonna have a really good event. There's a lot of positive vibes and good energy here, and the fishing seems to be a little bit on the tougher side as far as what I've seen so far, but I think it's gonna make for a really fun, tight race to the top. So I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Shane. Shane and I used to be both part of the Paddle and Fin family a few years ago. Always appreciate what Shane has done, especially for the kayak fishing community out there in California. I know he's done his best to promote the sport over there with great results. We see how it's growing every year, and we're excited about the trail stop this year. Before we get into the trail, Shane, you're from California. How is everybody doing with all the fires that are raging down in LA and some of the Southern California anglers? I know you and I talked, you weren't directly affected by it, but I imagine a lot of people in the kayak fishing community have been affected by it. How's the vibes over there? How's everybody doing?
Yeah, it hit really hard, really fast. And I mean, people lost their homes, and it's just a super devastating thing. I can't even imagine losing all your personal items and everything. I just can't even imagine. We had a fire come close to my wife's house a few years back, and we had to evacuate and stuff, but it wasn't even close to this, and that was scarring. So I can't even imagine the full effect of actually losing your home and stuff. So but I think the community as a whole and the country as a whole has really came together and rallied around the community. There's tons of different outlets. I don't know exactly off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure if you Google how to help out with the fires, you guys could find some awesome opportunities to give back to those people who lost everything. I know that there's a lot of need for like baby items and mom wear when it comes to the baby side of things. So if you have extra stuff or you're willing to give and help out, it's a great way to contribute. But yeah, I had a lot of people reach out to me, but I'm about 2 hours south of that area. So I wasn't affected really, but the air quality and stuff's been pretty sketchy in some areas too. So it's had a little bit longer effect on that side of it as well. But, I think, moments like this, it just makes everybody come together and stronger, and, we'll, just keep praying for them and just hope the best, that they're able to rebuild their homes and clean up the mess and move forward.
Yeah, well said. I think that's very important. I know sometimes with social media, the wrong things get highlighted, right? A lot of like negativity, and it turns to a social political, whatever cluster, you know what? But we have to highlight the community, because that's what's holding everybody together, right? The neighbors coming in and helping each other out, and people from the communities outside that haven't been affected but are close enough that they can help out. That's what we want to highlight. And I know there's going to be a lot more of that in the coming days. So thoughts and prayers for everybody over there. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some charity tournament going on at some point, some like national trail, or at least on on Tourney X, if people can take part and donate money. So we'll be looking out for that, and wherever that comes, we'll do our best here to promote it and help out those people, not just in the kayak fishing community, but everybody out there in California, Southern California, that's been affected. So moving into the tournament, I wanted to ask you, Steve, last year Lake Murray, I think, was the inaugural stop, right? And you made, I think, something like 250 in attendance. Is that correct?
258, I think.
258. And I wanted to ask you, because I was curious. I mean, you would think, and I'm not criticizing, just an observation from somebody who has no experience as a tournament director. So I'm curious what your thought process was, because you would think, me from my standpoint of view, it's like, oh, yeah, definitely go back to Lake Mary or that area just to start off the season. Because I think once we saw those numbers last year, we figured, all right, this could, be kind of like a huge push for people to actually start signing up for the next tournaments. You see that, the response from that people in that area, and I think it becomes contagious, right? And this year they decided to go to California, which traditionally has not been the best place for national trails, Hobie BOS, Bassmaster Kayak Series in the past few years, years before, would struggle to get 50 anglers. I feel like that was a very gutsy call on your part, and I think, in my opinion, it's paid dividends, because considering what's going on, the attendance right now is at 111 anglers, which, by the way, congratulations. I think that's a great feat, considering, you're trying to once again build that community out there to support the national trails, and considering everything that we just talked about. How do you feel about the decision? What went on into, deciding to pivot and go the opposite coast in this time?
Yeah, well, there's kind of like 4 parts to that answer. The first one, like you mentioned, we had 258 on Lake Murray. Just because your season opener studs out like that doesn't, in my opinion, there's all kinds of variables to that. So that doesn't mean that, let's say we started out on Lake Seminole to start the season. That doesn't mean we were going to get 250 on Lake Seminole, Now, I do understand the cabin fever aspect. So to your point, that is a smart play to try to come out with a heavy hitter right out of the gate. People are anxious and ready to go. So then the gutsy call kind of thing to come out here was because, you mentioned the struggle with numbers. And I feel like we've learned over the past several years through communication how to do this better, because I was part of that original schedule at Bassmaster. AJ and I are obviously very close, and we talk with the other TDs and stuff out here. And I think, in my opinion, a lot of the reason some of these numbers out here didn't necessarily pop was just because we don't know these people out here. Shane and I, we started messaging because we're Yankees fans on Facebook and Fish before I was the Bassmaster TD, and we just kind of, grew into that online friendship there. So, but so looking at all of that and realizing we don't know these guys out here, so we don't know who to call and find out when's the best time to come, or if there's a boat show, that I missed this weekend in Sacramento, or your local club has their classic that weekend. We don't know who all to call there, because this is so far away. So what I essentially did was just, because I only know a handful of people out here, I just bet on the community. I really did. I was like, let's just put it out there. Whatever we get, because the anglers deserve something, regardless of any of the past history or stuff. There's fault on both sides why numbers are less than sometimes. And so I just got assurances from talking with all these men and women out here that, hey, we'll just put it out there. We'll put it out there. We'll do the best we can with it. And whatever we get, hopefully it's close enough to where we can water it again and grow it the next year. The same with going up north. Everybody will go to Susky. Everybody will go to La Crosse and stuff like that. But, the struggle with is anglers always, we want different bodies of water. We're tired of fishing Gunnersville or Seminole, So then when you switch, it's kind of like, well, you asked to switch. And so Havasu out here ideally would be better numbers wise too if we could go into the spring more, but we couldn't do that. So that's the reason we're here in January. Talk to the locals out here, the boat guys and stuff, and they assured me, if we get lucky and dodge the wind, which we're going to this weekend, it looks like, knock on wood, the weather is cold for these guys, 45, That's t-shirt and no shoes weather for me on Del Hollow, 45 degrees. So, but then today, I felt the sun burning on my skin. It was 64, 65 degrees today, and absolutely beautiful. So that's why January came, because February was booked all the way up. When you get into these other months, not even the pleasure boat world of Havasu, they have yacht races, they have the big cigar boat races, and so there's a lot of that calendar that you can't come to. And so that's why we chose January, because it's kind of like having our Del Hollow event in Tennessee in December. The fishing will stud out if you can survive the weather. Out here, January is tolerable for you left coasters who don't like the cold, and so that's just that's what we did. I bet on the anglers, and they've Bassmaster is completely satisfied with how they've all turned out.
Shane, let me flip it back to you. And what have you seen from Steve Owens and the Bassmaster Kayak Series, the organization, that has you think made a difference in the community as far as getting people to support this event?
I think the platform, number one, that they provide for us is second to none. I mean, I've been super passionate about fishing Bassmaster ever since, and we talked about this when I had Steve on the other night. When I fished Clear Lake 5 years ago, and I was able to qualify and go fish at the Bassmaster Classic, like what better opportunity do I want? Like it's something that I've always dreamed about having the opportunity to do, but I thought it was always going to be out of a bass boat. And now with Steve and the whole team at Bass have given the kayak anglers an opportunity to walk on that stage and have a chance this weekend and all the weekends in the year to win a blue trophy out of a kayak is awesome. And I have friends who are fishing this tournament this weekend who are literally hopping in a kayak for the first time. They've been in a bass boat their whole life, and they want that opportunity to compete in the kayak as well. So it's pulling anglers from literally like just people who just bought a kayak to people who have boats coming into the kayak, people like me who've been in it for a while, who are chasing that, professional level. And it's just such a fun atmosphere. Steve does an incredible job of promoting us, and like with the camera boats and everything, it's honestly a no-brainer for me. That's why I flew to Gunnersville last year. There's Anthony Garcia drove across the country. There's a handful of us who have came out and said, do we really want to fish these things? And I think the fact that Steve delivered for us this year, and sounds like he's going to give us a year or so after this to kind of build on it and grow on it. And I think in the next year or two, you're going to see that 200 mark pretty easily as these opportunities continue to come up for us. And it's just been something that I've been super passionate about promoting, not only myself, but all of us that are passionate about the sport out here. To have you guys come back out has just meant a lot to us. So,
and that's a pretty bold prediction, and I hope it comes through. Getting up to 200 anglers in California. I know, it's one of the things that I mentioned in the podcast, the geographically location of it. California, just having the Rocky Mountains. It costs a lot to come from one side of the state to the other.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand why national trails. It's hard for these anglers in California to compete for AOY when you have to drive so much versus we kind of like me in Texas. I think I'm spoiled in that aspect. It's right in the middle of everything, and usually we'll get one or two trails stopping in Texas just because of the cold bass fishing culture in Texas. But I've seen the support on the local trails and the Texas Bass Nation in California. And so it's there. The culture in California, the bass fishing culture, kayak fishing culture is rich up there. And it's untapped territory, and definitely looking forward for the national trail to grow in that aspect. But I think when one region grows, we all grow, right? The more it grows, the more what's the word that I'm looking for? The more popular the sport gets across the country, the better it's going to be for everyone, not just the tournament hosts or the tournament organizations, but just everyone
And
Steve,
one more thing before we move on really quick too is I kind of lost my train of thought when I interrupted you. Sorry about that.
go ahead.
But
No, you
I want to say, like, because you mentioned AOI, like, for at least for myself, and I know for a lot of the guys who have came out from California for this event and Arizona, there's a handful that are gonna travel and try to get AOI, but also we have an opportunity. Like, I have an opportunity this weekend, just as fishing this one tournament. If I take top 5,
Right.
I qualify for the championship and at a chance at a blue trophy. Like, you know, I have a family, I have a young family. It's really hard for me to go fish 3 or 4 of these events, but giving us one or maybe 2 that, you know, like if there's one in Texas or somewhere, I can kind of go and have another one or have another shot at it. What I'm saying is I'm not like, as a West Coast angler, knowing that there's not that many events out here, that shouldn't hold me back from fishing just one. Just because I don't have a shot at AOI, because I still have a shot at what I really want. AOI is great, but I also want to hold that trophy on the classic stage. So that
you can't check every box in a perfect scenario, but at least you can get out, like you said, and experience something, which is what we'll probably touch on as we talk about the schedule here in a little bit, you know.
Before we go into the schedule, that's a great point for both of you, Shane. And thank you for bringing that up, because I don't want what I said to be misunderstood. So thank you for clarifying that. That is a great point. You know, chance at winning the blue trophy. I think this is what sets the Bassmaster Kayak Series apart. It's just that we all grew up, all of us that love kayak fishing, or most of us that love kayak fishing, or not kayak fishing, bass fishing, I should say, you know, watching it on, you know, Sunday mornings or Saturday mornings when we were kids. It was, you know, it was always that dream of being in that kind of red carpet, you know, winning a blue trophy, or even just walking the stage and being the top 10. Well, it's a dream for a lot of us, right? So now that Bassmaster has finally embraced kayak bass fishing, it makes it more feasible for people to kind of live out that dream, of course. And what better place than to do it at the Bassmaster Kayak Series. Let's talk a little bit about the championship. It's going to be in Lake Fork. I wish it would have qualified for that one, but
me too.
You know, that it's legendary. Lake Fork. How excited are you, Steve, about this one, and how's the planning going for that event?
Oh, I'm pumped. Like, as you can remember, as soon as we got to announce that, you know, it was going to be in the Dallas area, you know, immediately started looking at lakes and contacted a bunch and had a bunch shot to me. But right out of the gate, I mean, it actually took several months to develop, and I ignored every other lake, and that was a gamble. But Lake Fork was what I wanted, because we had been to Lake Fork before, and of course, you know, it was the big snowstorm. You know, but then, you know, Garrett Morgan, you know, busted them out there, and Cody Milton busted them out there, you know, and that was years ago, as I thought it was on the decline, according to you guys that live there. And then now it's rebounding even more so, like Toledo Bend, you know, that was all I could think about, you know, and as a kayaker getting one of those share lunkers in our championship, you know, and it's got the name draw, because, you know, everybody, as we mentioned, wants different lakes and everything. But if you don't make a kayak event a destination lake, people aren't going to come to it. That, you know, because these are vacations in and of themselves for a lot of our anglers, you know.
That's a great point. So let's kind of segue into the trail, because I know every year, I think you put it out on the Bassmaster Facebook page, you know, suggestion. What do the people want to see a tournament be held in what lake? And you obviously look at it, and you have to put everything in perspective. You know, what works best for the growth of the sport. Going to the same lake over and over, it kind of like there's like a fatigue factor in it. But you also don't want to ignore new potential areas of growth. We remember Susquehanna was an unknown fishery for us here in the Midwest, and now it's kind of like, I would say, a lot of the Texas anglers that I've talked to, Susquehanna all of a sudden is, you know, on everybody's bucket list, right? And it's because of the tournaments that have been held there. Like, you can't hold a tournament on a boat tournament on that body of water, but you can hold a kayak fishing tournament there. So what goes into the planning? Like this year, let's talk specifically about this year. what went into each and every lake that you picked this year?
Yeah. So, we owe AJ McWhorter with Hobie BOS a huge debt of gratitude for getting with those PA, Delaware anglers and Maryland anglers up there and getting Susquehanna on everybody's radar, because, we all obviously want to go there all the time. So, Susquehanna is one that I learned that you kind of, you want to go every single year. But what happens on some of these bodies of water is you all know where everybody's catching the fish all the time. And so the next thing you know, everybody's in a few different places, like on Gunnersville. A lot of people are familiar with that now. And, so when you show up, there's people that, and they have the right to come there. But more than fatigue, it makes it to where the playing field just gets a little skewed, animosity breeds and stuff. And, part of running something is this is our trail series. It just is. I run it, but it's ours. Like if I don't take into consideration what anglers people want, then we're not going to be successful. But at the same time, you have to control it and own it and set a narrative. And that's what we've done over the years, is make certain that I set a certain narrative of what we can accept, tolerate, and won't tolerate. And so that goes with scheduling too. So I make a long list like everybody else, and scheduling is the most aggravating and stressful part about any job, because you're trying to create a product to make people happy. And so when we looked at these tournaments, there's a lot of names on my list that are crossed off because people just weren't receptive, even in the boat world, to scheduling fishing tournaments, because there's a host fee. We've got things we have to do to make money. It's easy to put out a schedule of the most banger lakes in the country if you don't have to have money to pay the bills. Us three can put on the best schedule you've ever heard of, and we'll pay out of pocket to travel back and forth to it. And so I come up with a really good list. And then, of course, the ones that I could get on the phone, we started working from there. And so I took that list, rewrote it 30, 40, 50 times, and started extracting the best bodies of water in a region that I could get reception from communities. And so that's how, if you look at this schedule, it is spread out, but each one of the bodies of water are phenomenal bodies of water. So luckily I was able to retain that part of it. And then when I realized that I couldn't get the core where the numbers are in certain parts of the country, I started looking at what's the best I can make out of this. And that was making sure that if we have to spread out, it's on the optimal body of water. 10 killer was easy because the numbers were there from that championship. The fishing was amazing. Conditions weren't ideal, and they still hammered them. Toledo Bend, anything around the Texas area, as long as you get the right time of year, is going to be a great fishing event. Then when we looked, we wanted to go to Florida. We know that that's a travel as well, but Florida is kind of like Kissimmee. I mean, like Murray and those North, South Carolina, Southeast areas. People will come and fish those. So you mentioned this being the start of the season. So when Bass told me we could have a 6th event because we averaged 211 last year, my first thought process was, I'm going to build these 5 tournaments, and I'm holding one for out west. The out west one was actually the last one to get booked. And it's making me nervous, because I didn't want to pull it. And after we had talked so much, but it came through. And so when I did that, in my brain, my little tiny brain said, I'm not even counting Havasu as part of my core. If I'm the travel angler that helped us average 211, that's something it's not reasonable for me to be able to do. I can't afford it. It's money's tight. Times are hard. I can't drive 2,000 miles to fish a tournament. If I did, it might be the only one for me this year, like Shane and them. This will be the only one for them because you can't, with a family and stuff, drive that far. And so for me, you have to set that narrative of, people were kind of literally complaining like, well, why are we going to Havasu? Well, that Havasu tournament is not for you then, but there's 5 more that are for you, and so you got to set that narrative. We're all bratty by nature sometimes. I am too. And so that's where leadership comes in. We do still have 5 more tournaments. They are a little spread out, but if all you can fish are 2 of them, then you're still going to potentially take home $10,000-$12,000 if you roll the dice and win. And if you don't, you're still going to take home some good money. And then in the end of the day, you're still doing what you want to do, which is compete head to head with other kayak anglers. So you have to kind of check your own self and say, what am I really talking about here? You know, I'm upset that I have to do a little more traveling, which is very understandable, but just take a breath and pause and look and be like, you know, put it in perspective. You know, I can't chase Angler of the Year, but that doesn't mean that I should stay home and not fish for these thousands of dollars and the opportunity to brag that, you know, I beat John Doe or something, you know, and get back to why you're kayak fishing, you know. And so that's but that was the tough part of this schedule, was that, you know, before the election, you know, just the economy being the way it is really hard. These chambers have had a huge turnover in staffing. Budgets are being cut. AJ and I worked really, really close, and neither one of us had much traction on a schedule for a very, very, very long time. Worked with Drew, and then obviously Vinny at Queen City, and Duke and the guys down in Texas. And, you know, anytime you needed a host fee, it was really hard. And then at the end of the day, we actually ended up sharing some contacts to help get these other schedules done. So a lot of these schedules that you see, there were 4 or 5 of us that helped put them together for each other because we needed it. It was that tough, you know?
Yeah, no, and shout out, you know, you've done an amazing job. First of all, I like the Dale Hollow event. I like all of the events, but Dale Hollow, I know Dale Hollow, from what I understand, I've never fished it, but, you know, Shane, you and I were in Paddle and Finch. The guys at Paddle and Finch used to host the meet and greet for the fans, listeners of the show in Dale Hollow. And it seemed like it went through some regression, that it was tough to fish. We forget Dale Hollow is where the world record for smallmouth bass has been caught. I think it's something like 11 pounds. Actually, Bass After Dark is who have a live show tonight, probably starting in a few minutes, is going to talk about that. So Dale Hollow is like a fishery that has been forgotten, but I'm excited to see now that it's finally getting a national trail being hosted there. And hopefully we'll see some big numbers, because Dale Hollow has that capability, or at least has the reputation for holding big smallmouth bass. What went into the decision of picking Dale Hollow?
Well, you know, we have Daniel Davis and we have a Tennessee Bass Nation Trail Series, and we go to Dale Hollow back to our grassroots days. Even when AJ and Jay Wallen and them, they had their bluegrass kayak anglers. Every year in December, we go. They called it the Snowball Classic for AJ's, and it was freaking awesome because the awards were always at the Dairy Queen, the DQ, you know. And so we just fell in love with that fishery. And, you know, it's like Fork. It's got a slot limit. Uh-oh, we're going to close the doors. There we go. It's got a slot limit on smallmouth. So the boats watch us catching 18 and a half, 19 inch, you know, 3 and 4 pound smallmouth that they can't put in a boat. So it's great like that. And so 4 or 5, no, golly, it's probably been 8 years of fishing that body of water and realizing that time of year, the largemouth come into play too. I can't tell you how many, there's massive largemouth in that body of water too. So it's going to be diverse. So that being a fishery. And the other thing was Fish Tennessee, the Bill Dance Signature Lakes Initiative out there. They're very friendly to kayaking. They literally are part of the reason I'm able to do this for a living is Dennis Tumlin. And then when they got all that started, he was in my hometown of Lake Chickamauga area, and we met and developed a good friendship. And he helped us start getting sponsorships for tournaments. And Dale Hollow I'll just share. I tried for another body of water for 6 months, but that body of water, to peel back the curtain a little bit, some of these areas can only quantify numbers off of hotel stays. They know we spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars at other things, but he can't turn that into his boss. All he can turn is the heads in beds, you know? Yeah. And so, but Tennessee realizes, you know, that And so, but that's because of the relationship we've all established. So the other lake I was trying to get on board, their hotels, they're not built for trailers. Like, we kind of dangle the carrot and the allure of, if we can come and bring a kayak tournament to you for a low footprint, money wise, we can bring you a nation event. We can bring you an elite event. We can bring you a college event where you got dedicated budgets from these anglers and stuff. And that lake just doesn't have the hotel space for boat trailers. So they don't care to ever have fishing tournaments. But I fought to find non-endemic sponsors. And so when that couldn't happen, it probably took 5-minute conversation with Birdstown, and Billy said, God bless him, he's an old timer that runs that chamber up there. He was like, well, I already bring you up here twice a year. And I said, no, Billy, it's December. And then he was talking about the paddle and fin. And I said, no, this is Bassmaster. And he was like, oh, the big boats. And I said, not big boats yet. I said, but the Bassmaster kayak. He said, well, yeah, man, whatever you got going on, I want to be a part of it. Y'all are doing a good thing in the kayak world. And so, I told him, I said, well, here's the host fee and here's the other requirements. And he said, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Just send me the contract. And I don't even think he read it, to be honest with you. So awesome. I just hope he signs a check when the bill comes due. But that was it, man. And that's the kind of stuff that makes it exciting. Like, and I knew when we announced that it was so spread out, there was going to be blowback because, I was that travel angler and I would get a little aggravated if I wanted to qualify for an angler of the year, but I knew I was going to have to stretch my neck out a little more. But then whenever you settle back and breathe, you're still going to want to get out to fish, and so that's where I have to temper it, because y'all know I get in my own head with stuff, but that's just what's going to happen. We're going to settle in. We're going to settle down. We're going to want to fish. We're going to see what these people do out here. Lake Havasu, the lake record was caught today, 11 pounds, 11.34. Really? 25 inches, 19.5-inch largemouth girth. Yeah. So I'm going to scrub the picture where they can't see anything, and I'm going to post it later. So, yeah, it's pretty legit. And so that's just what's going to happen, and AJ always brought up a good point. We're going to run the tournament for the people who are there, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I invite you to come and do all of this. Everything good? Yeah.
If you need to hop out, Steve, we can cut it short. I understand
Well, if you can give us one more good question each, and then we'll bounce out of here. But we appreciate you, Armando, and I apologize for having to cut short. But this is the largest meet and greet we've ever had, too. By the way, we've got like probably 50, 60 people here.
Hey, and one thing really quick. There's a lot of anglers that traveled that aren't from the West Coast.
23 states represented.
Like that was a little shocking, to be honest. Like, we got people from all over the
Minnesota,
place.
Canada, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama.
I met a lot of people at the ramp today. Yeah. And I'm like, holy moly, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
So it kind of balanced out.
So yeah, hit me with one and I'll let him finish and he can just bring my phone in.
All right.
We can go ahead after.
Shane, real quickly, what do you think the final number would be to win this tournament?
Oh yeah.
What are your guess?
Well, a week ago
or less.
Oh no, over 2 days
or each day. What's the limit each day?
Oh yeah. I would say 87. If you get 87,
average 87 between the 2 days.
Yeah, I'd say 87 both days. So that's like what,
174. That's not right.
Yeah. Nice. 175. How about that? 175.
175. We're gonna put your numbers to the test. By the way, Ethan Jed, thank you so much. He came in clutch with some information. Dale Hollow last year, last year, Tennessee Bass Nation event in December. The top 11 had 90 inches. That's Texas numbers right there. So looks like Dale Hollow is definitely bouncing back on that. Final thoughts again, Steve. Anything else you wanted to add before I let you guys go?
Again, Bassmaster, we've got a lot of things behind the scenes. Over the last 3 years, I get a lot of credit, man, but it takes all of us. And I always say that. Number one, it's always going to be all right. Number two is it takes us all. And so y'all make it to where I get to continue to do this. And that's not lost on me how blessed we all are. But continue to reach out to me on the social media side. We're making a good push over there. We're working with hopefully a new sponsor. I'm actually going to talk to a gentleman here about it. Some good product coming for the anglers. And it's not just the typical, hey, here's 5 packs of whatever. We want something to where you can earn what you take back home. You know what I mean? Instead of just getting a grab bag. And so that's what, if you notice in this tournament series, I don't do that. It's because, you're here to fish, and I want you to focus on that. And I want it to be where, it's that professional setting, because this is right now, that's what we're trying to grow to. But Bass is fully on board. Not that they ever weren't, but it's just different now, because they're getting to speak our language. They're understanding it. They're listening to it. They're reciprocating it. And the sponsors are taking note. Like, we're here with Newport. Right now we're with Native Watercraft, bringing them in. And I work with Dugout Bait and Tackle. We're a wholesale distributor. And, so I get to work with a lot of the fishing industry. But to work with Newport and Native, Howie and Ramel and the people, and then Tyler and B, Lambert and I, for years, we worked with Native before we moved on to something different. But I'm excited to have them back around. Native, you won't find better people to be a part of than the Newport and Native people. So we just want to continue to keep bringing that. But again, like I say, there's a way to communicate. Y'all keep doing that with me. Shoot me. I get messages all the time. Continue to send me, where you want to go next. Like, I've gotten some people in St. Cloud that's recently sent me messages. And when we start looking, I'm working with La Crosse to maybe get some different waters in La Crosse, because they're supportive of the kayak community. So, it's evolving and it's changing. It's not always easy, but we're going to continue to set a positive narrative. And that's why, there's some, I've got some daggers in my back from the last couple of years, but I won't bring them public because that's not professional. And number two is, if he and I can't hash it out, we're dang sure not going to hash it out on keyboard. So you just got to suck it up and kick dirt and move on. And so I'm rambling on with that because I'm getting excited. I mean, I can't believe we're here. I mean, it's freaking gorgeous, man. But thank you for bringing us on. We owe you one. We'll come back maybe afterwards, maybe during Kissimmee. We'll get something rolling. So.
Oh yeah, we plan to have you on the podcast. Ethan, Steve Owens is the best TD, hands down. And a couple of people, thank you, Mike M. Says, I warranted my Titan Native, was excellent deal. Mike M's, thank you, Steve, for all you do.
Appreciate y'all.
You and your team.
Thank you.
Oh, I know that the crowd back there is clamoring you to go back to the karaoke and sing Tupac's rendition of California Love. So I don't want to hold them.
We'll probably do some chili peppers.
Yeah. So so thank you again, gentlemen. Shane, good luck on the tournament, man. I hope you do well. I catch a check and hopefully, qualify for the championship on 2026. And Steve-O, thanks again. I'll let you guys go because I know you got things to do over there. And I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, so I'll let you guys go.
Y'all.
Have a great night. And for those out there, I'm going to do the giveaway. So bye, you guys. I'm going to just log you off. So
thank you, brother. Thank you.
Letting those guys go because I know they're very busy up there with the meet and greet. So, okay, last chance for everybody to do the giveaway, hashtag giveaway. We're giving away 2 caps from Mariner Sales. It's this ones that you see right here. It's a 50th anniversary. It has a great logo. I already got, let's see, I want to make sure I got everyone. I got Steve, Matt, Rick, mispronounced Rick right there, Ethan, Mike, Cruz, Jason, anybody else that hasn't hashtag do it now. And again, if you need to log off, you can always catch it and find out if you want. So I don't have anybody else. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel. Let me share the screen. Share the screen. How do I share the screen here again? let's give it a go. Let's see who we got. Rick. Misspell Rick. Sorry, Rick. My dyslexia got the better of me. So, Rick, you won one of the baseball caps. Shoot me a DM on Facebook with your address so I can mail it to you. And then once again, Rick Henley, congratulations. And second, again, there's going to be 2 of them given away. Ooh, almost got Cruz. Now it's Jason Wills. Jason, once again, congratulations. Please send me a DM, and I'll make sure the guys at Mariner Sales ship that out. Give it a week or so. So again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate the turnout. We had to cut it short. Like I mentioned, Steve Owens and Shane are at the meet and greet in Lake Havasu for the tournament this weekend, so we had to cut it short a little bit. But if you're going to be on the water, please wear your PFDs. If you have any suggestions on a guest or a topic you want to listen on the podcast, remember, if you first time listening to us, we do share our podcast on every streaming platform. We have 2 shows a week. One is the Advanced Kayak Angler, which airs every Wednesday, and that is with your host, Kurt Smith, where he dives into techniques, how-tos, baits, fishing seasons, any information to make you a better angler. So go check out those episodes against the Advanced Kayak Angler, hosted by Kurt Smith. And then we have the live show every Thursdays, the Real Life, which usually I just bring in a guest from the kayak fishing community to talk about different topics, not necessarily how-tos, but just different topics. Some of them related to bass fishing, other things, related to other stuff. So those episodes air every Monday on our podcast streaming platform, but you can catch them live on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. Thank you for everyone that joined. Appreciate it. Have a great night, and please wear your PFDs. Peace out.